Hey everybody, welcome to the Conscious Coaching channel for female solopreneurs 45 plus. Remember to click the bell, subscribe. The content that I'm going to be creating is especially for you. Okay, so I want to talk to you about the craziness that's happened over the last year. This is at a glance, look at my business, the lessons that I have learned that you can get insight from and implement into your own business. I am sitting on the coast here in Thailand, so hopefully this sea isn't too distracting and some of the noises going on in the background. So 2020, I've got in my diary here. Let me just hold it up to the camera so you can see it. I've called 2020 my what the fuck year because, you know, for many of us, this is where things have gone a little pitong, to say the least. So these are my lessons. These are my insights and takeaways. You know, everything was going so well in 2019. It was absolutely my best year in terms of client results, the client flow, the level of engagement I was getting from my community. Everything was hunky-dory. Now, previously before that, I was struggling. I had an issue around money mindset and self-esteem. But the truth is, as soon as I learned how to master having a stinky money mindset and how to raise my level of self-esteem, things really started to fly in my business. I saw a significant difference. So 2019 was absolutely, hands down, my best year. 2020, so I've got a list of things here that I've written down that I want to take you through because, you know, when shit hits the fan in a business, it really hits it big time. And sometimes it can take a little bit longer to recover than you would like. That's definitely the case for me, for sure. It's taken until around, in the last couple of months of this year, for me to really find my feet in terms of what I'm going to be moving forward with and what is selling successfully. The first thing that happened for me was that I wanted to stop my medication. So I decreased my medication in the early part of the year. So in my little notebook here, I've got 2021, my best year. And then I've got anxiety and meds as the next part of the, the journey. Now, what happened was because I cut down on my meds, and I might have done it too quickly, we still don't know what the trigger was, but because I cut down on my meds, that threw me into a state of anxiety, which I was not expecting. Basically, what happens is I went on a trip to Winnabar Islands with a friend, and it was very, very hot. I'd been reducing my meds successfully, wasn't having any problems. So I thought, you know, I'll do this little trip, everything will be fine. And then out of the blue, from nowhere, I found myself having a full-on anxiety and panic attack to such a degree that I couldn't sit still. I was in full-on flight mode. Basically, my whole body was telling me to run, even though there was no danger around me. And I remember as clear as yesterday, I was in the hotel room, and to cool myself down I had the aircon on full, and I remember trying to plan my escape route from the island, but I was on a tropical island, a very small tropical island, which had no hospital, no mainstream medical facilities. There was no way of getting off the island. There were only 2 boats a day. So I absolutely lost the plot. If you've ever had an anxiety attack, that you know exactly what it is that I'm talking about. Everything, your world becomes very, very, very small. So I was planning my route, which then I couldn't escape from the island until the next day. But the story behind this really is that, you know, I went into 2020 not coming from the best foot forward already. So I had to work with a psychiatrist privately. I would do an hour a week with him, which was actually fantastic because he taught me the skills that I needed to be able to deal with panic and anxiety in the future, because my body was on a trip basically, and I couldn't figure out how to stop it. So it was so extreme, I couldn't even get out of the bedroom at times. I was so fearful of going outside. So that all happened at the beginning of 2020. And then in the past, I've got all my clients from Facebook, from speaking live on Facebook, from doing Facebook challenges, but something happened with Facebook. The algorithms changed. People weren't seeing my posts, people weren't engaging, which was really unusual. And I experienced a real drop-off in terms of that level of engagement and that consistent flow of clients that I had previously over the previous year from Facebook. So everything basically came to a standstill. Now, I've never been one of these people who's obsessed with having large numbers, although if I had been, my business would be in a very different position that it's in now. The truth be known. Lesson number one. Lesson one is don't decrease your meds unless you've got surroundings that you're familiar with. Number two is consistently grow. You can want to consistently grow your audience, but I'm going to get into a little bit of that later on. So from a group of about 120 people within that community, I had enrolled 30 of them successfully into working with me to create their one-to-one coaching program. And I'd also enrolled them into other programs as well. So I think it was pretty much safe to say that I'd unfortunately exhausted that community. I mean, to get 30 people from a group of 120 people is incredible, an incredible achievement. I've got to get my elbow off the table because it's been vibrating. And Zoom doesn't seem to be very good quality today for some reason. But out of my control, unfortunately. So, yeah, I hadn't been growing the group basically, and then this algorithm thing changed in Facebook, and that had a dramatic effect on my business and repeat business. And, you know, my mistake for not growing the group as I should have been. I was so busy doing the client work that I just hadn't spent enough energy and time in growing the Facebook group. So what I should have done is invested more money into getting someone to manage the Facebook community in terms of its growth. That's what I should have done. Now, at the same time, my mental health was impacting on the business because I had that whole fear and anxiety around being seen, going out, feeling safe, which also compacted together. Then, oh my God, then, what happened then? I think, no, actually what happened then? Let's have a look. Yes, okay, so Facebook dropped off, that all changed. Algorithms, whatever was going on, it all changed. So I decided to test a new message to see if it was my messaging that wasn't landing properly with people, which I don't think was really the case. I think it was just a case of I hadn't spent the energy and time growing the community the way I should have done. I think that was the real issue. Not that I needed to change my message, but I didn't know that at the time. So I went down this route of changing my message to running a six-figure business, because I achieved that through Facebook, working with the clients that I was working with. I'd hit the six figures and beyond. And this is a message that I was constantly seeing, and people were jumping all over it. So I thought, okay, let's just change my message and see, even though I'm delivering on the same things, let's just see how people respond to that. Now, what's really interesting here was that message is completely out of alignment and integrity with who I am, what it is I stand for, and what I believe in, what my core values are, what motivates me, what drives me. There's not a fit between the two of us, even though, you know, I charge good fees. They pushing the business from the direction of, you know, consistently making six figures and making it all about the money really didn't sit comfortably with me. So I suspect that was sabotaging my success. So at that point, I was looking at pivoting with a different message. What I could be doing differently to increase that level of engagement again, to bring it back up. What happened was, because that message was so out of alignment with who I was, it actually started to make me feel very uncomfortable. It started to make me feel actually distressed, I think, emotionally distressed around the message that I was pushing, because it was so out of alignment. It would make me feel uncomfortable. It was making me feel emotionally unhappier and happier and happier, because I still wasn't seeing the results it is that I wanted to see. So that really impacted on my level of self-esteem. Just checking through my notes. My thing is always about helping people to achieve, helping people to get the results that they're invested in getting. And while money is important, as I said, it's not the main driver for me. The main driver is really about helping people to make a difference, to get those results, to stand by what I said it is that I'm going to deliver on. So I suspect that when I was delivering that message, people were actually probably picking up on that. And I remember getting a message from a past client, and she said, Wendy, you know, I'm a bit concerned about your new message, because it just doesn't sit. I love you, but it just doesn't land with me properly. Yeah, so the signs were there, but I wasn't able to hear them or pick them up at the time. So the anxiety bit, the Facebook bit, the change in the message bit, I can imagine this is all normal for a business, but when you're in it yourself, it's like, oh my God, the world is ending. The business is, everything's just wrong. It's just collapsing. Help. So yeah, I had all of this going on. I was still trying to figure things out. And then, of course, COVID hit. My level of anxiety went up. I was experiencing panic attacks again. But the good news is they didn't take me out the same way they took me out last time, because I now have, you know, the tools to be able to manage my mindset much more quickly. So I could literally recover within a couple of hours rather than 3 months, which is what it initially took me last time. So COVID hit. And my instinct at that point was telling me that people weren't going to invest in 3 months programs, because there was such a high level of anxiety, uncertainty, about what was happening around the world, how that was impacting on people's families and people's businesses. So my sense was that people weren't going to invest money that way unless they were pushing themselves into potentially unnecessary debt, which just isn't my thing either. So I decided the good thing about having a signature program is because that's the foundational piece of the business, is that it's very easy then to look at the different elements of it and then create other offers based from that content. So the first thing I created was a message to A-list clients, which is a VIP immersion, which sold, and it sold well. It generated a lot of interest. So hooray, at last. Result. Took a while. Took a bit of stress, took a bit of thinking about, took a bit of going down off in the wrong direction. So that works, that sells. Brilliant. Okay, so now I know VIP days are going to be lucrative, they're going to sell. One of the things I really love about VIP days is that people get very, very quick results. They can implement straight away and get results and see a change straight away because you're focused in on one piece of the puzzle. So message to A-list clients underpins the whole of your business, because if your message is off, then your offers are going to be off. Messaging is where you start, because it's about identifying that buyer's market, about identifying the people it is that you want to work with, then setting the message in context with the business to be able to create those offers and price it accordingly. So that is a part that I deliver on when I help people to create a one-to-one group coaching program, group immersion. That's one of the first pieces of the puzzle that I help them to create. So what I've done is actually taken it out and I'm just delivering it in a VIP intensive. Very quick win, very quick result. And plus it's something that I love doing. So it lights me up. It's completely in line with how I like to work. The next thing I am creating for the beginning of next year, because I know I'm kicking off with this in January, because I know that model is going to work given the current climate for people, is that I'm then going to teach people how to create their own VIP intensives. So I will do that again as a VIP intensive. That will be as a one-to-one immersion, so I can get really under the skin of their business. So that works. Now, what's really interesting about pivoting, we've heard this word, as soon as the virus hits, as soon as COVID hit, people were talking about pivoting. And I just couldn't get my head around pivoting for some reason then. It just seemed like marketing speak, hype. You know, to me, I was like, how can you just pivot? How can you just pivot so quickly? But it might be because I had the other stuff playing out. Now I know how to pivot much more quickly, how to change. It still takes time. You know, I'm not one of these people who can just go, oh, I'm just going to throw something else together willy-nilly, then stick it out there and, yeah, and deliver on that. That's not how I work. So it takes me time to get my head around pivoting. And I did a post about this the other day. So that was definitely a lesson for me. I wanted to really take the time to think about what is it that I could deliver on that would help people get results and transformation quickly. Now, I had a big lesson was that I got locked out of my Facebook account, and this was a massive wake-up call for me. I got locked out of my Facebook account, and there are different ways that you can get back into your Facebook account, but one of the things that you can pick is you can choose what you have written. It will give you a choice of text that you have written over the last couple of months. Now, what was very insightful for me, really eye-opening for me, is that I gave this a go 3 times and I couldn't identify my own copy, which said to me that my message was so similar to everybody else that there was no point of difference. That is absolutely a fatal mistake for any entrepreneur. There absolutely has to be a point of difference. If you are sounding and looking the same as everybody else, which I made that mistake with chasing the 6 figures and changing my messaging to see if that would work, because I was seeing that people were getting such crazy results with that message that I thought maybe that's what's happening. And all that actually did was it took me off track, completely off track in the business, and it just made me the same as everybody else. So there was clearly no point of difference. Plus, it was totally out of line with my values. It's totally out of line with what I believe in. Yes, of course, I want people to make 6 figures. And yes, of course, I can help people make 6 figures. 110%. I've done it time and time again. However, the results are much more important for me. The journey and the results are what drives me, what motivates me, not the money. Another lesson learned. So what have I got here around pivoting? Started to think about all the things I can do. So I had this whole list of things that I'm really good at. And I was also thinking about at the same time, what is it that is unique about me that I can bring into the business world that will really help women to get that much deeper transformation and, you know, make better decisions, have a more joyful life, you know, be more stress-free. What is it that I could deliver on? What could I create? So I was still feeling a bit unsure about this, but what I did was I created a list of things that I can do, that I'm good at, that I get, you know, I can do with my eyes closed. And I popped getting out of your own way in with more businessy type things. So, you know, how to create a VIP day, how to collaborate with other people. So this one stuck out like a bit of a sore thumb, and I wasn't sure about it. However, people said that was the one, the women in my community said that was the one that they were most drawn to. They would want to know the most about. Interesting, yeah? So as I was thinking this through and I was exploring it with my audience, and they were saying that, actually, Wendy, this is the bit here that I struggle with the most, I could then think about, okay, what can I bring together? What is unique to me that I can bring together to create that point of difference that will help women solve that problem? So that's what I did. Tested the market. Very, very important to test the market. So from that, what I did was I created the Conscious Coaching and Mentoring Collective. So this takes the business from a very different angle from what I have been doing in the past. So, you know, 2019 was all about creating your signature program. And a signature program, of course, is about what is unique to you, what's your specialist area of expertise, and then creating your coaching program from that, marketing it and selling it. So it's create, market and sell. Now, Conscious coaching and mentoring is much more about the skills that we use in our business rather than coming at it from a place of the marketing and selling and the creating. So it is a different way that I'm coming in and engaging with people in my network. So people, hundreds of people enrolled for that within a matter of weeks, which was great. So again, it was another sign that I was on the right track. I was starting to get results in terms of the volume of people that were signing up, which was brilliant. And that is a space for women 45 plus to explore running the business more consciously, to run their coaching more consciously so they can make a much bigger impact in the world. So the group was created. I then created the Conscious Coaching Toolbox, which is a group of tools that I use on a daily basis to help me get out of my own way, because I've had a lot of experience of doing that. And good news is that is selling really, really well. So it's a combination of the tools that I use, a couple of tools that I have personally designed myself. So that's the unique point of difference I was talking about. Plus, I'm not a fan of online courses, so this is not an online course. It also has a high level of support integrated to it as well. So weekly accountability and daily support if needed to keep people motivated and on track. Because we all know that most people that sign up to do online courses, I think it's only something globally like 5%, which is just, I just don't want that. I want people to invest, enroll and do the work, and for me to have a level of impact on them so they can go and impact their clients. That's so important for me. So important. So that's selling well. So results. So I've got the VIPs, which are going to sell really well. I've got the Conscious Coaching Toolbox that is going to sell really well. So can you see how long it's taken me to pivot? It's almost been, it's been 10 months. I think it's been about 10 months. It's taken me to, to really discover what has been working during this crazy, what the fuck, 2020 year. So it's been a painful year. It's been a painful year of growth. It's funny, it's been a painful year of growth, and yet emotionally and my health is the best it's ever been now. But in terms of the growth of the business, it's, at times it's just felt like a complete disaster. I'm going to be honest. I'm not going to dress it up and say, oh, how fantastic it's been, because it's been hard. It's been a real challenge with everything that's going on. But it just shows that if you can let go of what it is that you have created that may not necessarily be selling the way that you want it to sell, is that if you go a little bit deeper and dig a little bit deeper and find out what your real point of difference is that you can create from that space. So what have been my biggest lessons? God. Okay. It's funny, I was listening to someone doing their end of year review yesterday on video. Or was it this morning? It might have been this morning. And she said, and I used to be a believer of this, but I definitely am not a believer of this anymore. And that is that you should just focus in on one thing and do that one thing well. So if you're going to focus in on Facebook, do Facebook and do it well. Now, I did Facebook and I did it well, and I made over 6 figures from doing Facebook. However, once that whatever changed, that significantly impacts, it stopped my business dead, basically. And I just couldn't figure out why that is. So I would say actually one of my biggest lessons is not to put all your eggs in one basket. And that's definitely what I will not be doing next year. So I'll still have the Facebook community because I do love the Facebook community. However, I will be more strategically using the online space to grow my audience much quicker. So my YouTube channel, I'm going to be investing a lot of time and energy in creating videos. Also, I will be blogging. I will be doing more interviews. I think within that comes not having stuff behind a locked door. You know, this is about giving people access and having your material shared with a much wider audience rather than keeping it in a closed group. Yes, okay, people feel safe doing that, but the engagement has decreased in Facebook groups so much that you could be wasting a lot of time, money and energy into a group where you could spend it better somewhere else to help grow the group more quickly rather than keeping it behind that locked door in that bubble. So I would say don't put all your eggs in one basket. Otherwise you run the risk of what's just happened to me over the last year of me trying to figure it out. And actually I had the answer to the question at the beginning. My brain was still trying to figure out the problem. Naughty brain. Yeah. Second lesson is that pivoting takes time. For some people it's going to come really quickly because they've structured the business that way and they just can work that way. For other people it's going to take some time and it's going to require digging a bit deeper, but don't give up. You know, just think about my story. It's taken me 10 months to pivot, to create a new offer that people are really drawn to and that people are going to buy. Test it, test your ideas, put them out there, see what feedback it is that you get. If you get good feedback like I did, then come from a place of creation and start bringing it together. The other thing I would also say is don't ever spend like 3 months creating the program. You want to sell it first, which is what I've done, to prove that people are going to buy it and then create it. So over this Christmas period, well, actually New Year, what I'm going to do is I'm going to create that offer. So I've sold it, repeatedly sold it, now I'm going to create it. But I know what's going in it. So people aren't just buying fresh air. I know what's going in it. I live it and breathe this stuff every day. Third lesson, you are the brand. You've got to find your unique points of difference and you've got to work around your unique point of difference. Otherwise, you run the risk of just sounding like everybody else, and you absolutely, that's a fatal mistake. You do not want that because people are ultimately buying you, your uniqueness, your quality, what it is that you have to bring to the table. And if there's no point of difference, you're not helping people make a decision whether they want to work with you or not, because you're just going to sound the same as everybody else. I saw this on someone's post the other day of someone I follow. She put a question to her group around which one is the most attractive, and someone just wrote on the post, you sound the same as everybody else. There's no point of difference. And she was absolutely right. Absolutely right. So number 4 lesson is be constantly growing your audience. I've always said small groups are brilliant. I always have, but I've learned a very valuable lesson here. And that is that, you know, small is great, but if you've worked with 30 clients out of like that 120 and you haven't been consistently growing the group, you're going to run into a problem like I have, which is that you have worked with all the people that are going to be attracted to you at that point. So even though you will get repeat business and ongoing business, it's gonna dry up. That well is gonna dry up. So you've got to be consistently growing your business and not just be growing it on one channel. I'm really struggling at the moment with the ethics of Facebook, big time. The ethics of the company and how it's manipulating things. So I think out of all the platforms, yes, use them, but still stick with your email list. That should be your central source when it comes to the online world, because that ultimately is your biggest asset. The next lesson, this is another big eye-opener for me, and that is that I have been hiding online, considering how visible I am, hiding online for a considerable amount of time. I've been hiding with being busy. I've been hiding with organising big events. I've been hiding interviewing other people. What was really interesting in that whole experience of discovering a point of difference is that I don't share my personal message at all. And to create a point of difference, you're going to have to share your personal message, a bit of it, as long as you feel safe to do so. But you can pick which bits you want to share. But to really bring people in close and to create that point of difference, your story is part of that. In the transformational space, it's not going to work for all businesses, but in our space, absolutely, people want to know what the point of difference is, what is unique to you. So I discovered from my journaling that I had been hiding behind other people for a long time. So this is really about owning your story, really owning your story, creating that point of difference. Big lesson. Big lesson. There is more to being visible than just being visible. I am highly visible. I'm all over online. I've always been highly visible. But I've been sophisticatedly hiding in that visibility. So I haven't been really showing who I am. So it's time for that to change. And it's something that women really struggle with, is the whole visibility piece. And what I would say about that is that it is a real journey. And this is about, working consciously. It's about working with the many different layers that you have and getting to a space where you're just discovering layers about your personality all the time so you can get out of your way. So the conscious coaching reflective journal exercise that I do every day has highlighted that is the behavior that I've been doing. Perception is everything. It is everything, especially with what is going on at the moment. Lots of my friends are in tier 4, their Christmases for them have been ruined. I think I read something early today about, who's going to eat all the sprouts. Funny, but not funny. But perception is everything. It's about being consciously aware of how we are reacting to what's going on around us, which means that we have to be able to fully understand our emotions, our personality, what's been triggered, what's been emotion triggered. I think this is probably the final insight, and that really is about keeping things much more simple. So next year I'm going to have 3 offers. That's it. But I only had a couple of offers, to be fair. But where I let myself down was not growing the audience consistently, being 100% visible and owning my point of difference. But for me, this next year, it's going to be much more about marketing each of my different offers every 5 weeks. So I've got that consistent flow going through the whole year rather than every 3 months, which is what I would do before. It's too long a gap. Unless you have the volume of people coming through, then if you've got the volume of people coming through, it's fine. You can do the 3 month, you can work with people for 3 months at a time. So this is about the volume of people coming through into your offers. So 3 offers marketed every 5 weeks. So that will be the VIPs, it'll be the conscious coaching reflective toolbox, and it will be the create your one-on-one coaching program, group immersion and VIP day as a longer program. Journaling is going to play an absolutely massive part in my journey for next year, because that fits in with the conscious coaching toolbox and the community. And I got a sneaky feeling that that is going to grow very quickly. And I got a feeling there are going to be some side products that come off the side of that. I think they're just naturally going to be birthed, because I can feel myself being pulled to them. It's like a magnet. I can feel myself being pulled to them already, because it's a much more creative and playful space, rather than talking about sales and marketing, which can be quite heavy for some people. And plus the conscious coaching elements is a real creative, fun space to hang out in. It's got endless possibility. I almost feel like I've come first circle. When I first came into business 11 years ago, I was qualified as a performance coach. And it almost feels like I've gone full circle back into the personal performance element of coaching. Here's the thing. Here's the truth of it all, is that the most important part of your business is that point of difference. But to get to the point of difference, you have to be consciously aware of what's going on for you. If you don't have that conscious awareness around who you are, what you stand for, how you're getting in your own way on a daily, like I have been, there will be a issue that shows up in the business. It's just the way it works. I guess depending on what the type of business it is that you have. But when you're working with people, yes, anybody can teach you how to do the strategy. It's the bit behind the strategy. It's how you are showing up, how you're being, how you are putting your best foot forward all the time is the bit that's the golden nugget. So my final thought, I think, for this year has to be, final takeaway is about not keeping things behind closed doors. It is about the point of difference, showing up, sharing your message, and not having things behind closed doors. So playing a much bigger game. I know exactly how to use Google, what it is that I need to do to get higher up the search rankings. I just haven't done it because I put all my eggs, made the mistake of putting all my eggs into one basket, which I'm absolutely not going to do next year. It's all about perception, honey. It's all about perception. It's all about being able to get out of your own way as quickly as you can. Yes, so that's 2020, what a fuck up. This year has been. Oh dear, I have to laugh because I've cried way too much this year for I'm not doing it anymore. I'm having a break now. I'm having a break, then I'm going to bring my conscious coaching toolbox together. We'll kick off on the 11th of January. So I'll have it all ready by then. So yeah, let me know what your takeaways have been for 2020. It would be awesome for you to share with members of the community. But remember, enjoyed this video, remember to like, share with Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, and remember to subscribe, because if you are a female entrepreneur, 45 plus, then all the videos that are going to be created are going to be relevant for you.